This is your fantasy football update on CBS Local Sports. Joy Taylor, Jamie Eisenberg, and Dave Richard. Let's start with the quarterbacks. Dave, you say to start Matthew Stafford this week.
Big fan of Matthew Stafford. You saw what he did against the Bears on Thanksgiving, and now here he is with Tampa Bay coming into their place. Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty easy game for him. I'm still not overly impressed with that Bucs secondary. Calvin Johnson, now that's somebody I can get behind. Stafford can throw to him too. Look for another big game, well over 20 fantasy points for Matthew Stafford.
And Jamie, you think Matt Ryan's going to struggle in Green Bay this weekend?
There's just a track record right now of what quarterbacks have done in Green Bay and what Matt Ryan has done outdoors this year. He's got one game over 20 fantasy points outdoors. He's got only 2 games in 6 tries with multiple touchdowns outdoors. So going into Green Bay, where they've done a good job against quarterbacks of late, you've seen them shut down guys like Jay Cutler, Mark Sanchez, guys who throw the ball a lot, guys who have good weapons around him. So Ryan outside, I'm just going to stay away from him.
But you are in on Mark Ingram this week against Carolina's defense.
He is our start of the week on CBSSports.com. There's an opportunity for him to play at a very high level. Last time he faced the Panthers, 30 carries, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, Carolina's run defense has improved over the last couple of games, but I think with everything the Saints are going to be able to throw at them in their building, it's going to be difficult for Carolina to try and just focus on stopping somebody like Mark Ingram. So, should get a lot of work. I'm not worried about Kyrie Robinson coming back or that Pierre Thomas has been playing. Ingram's still their guy.
Dave says sit another Atlanta Falcon, Steven Jackson.
Yeah, they're not going to like this video in Atlanta because we're talking so badly about their Falcons, but I don't know how many carries he can reliably get in this game because, yeah, maybe their game plan is to run the ball so that Aaron Rodgers stays on the sideline. It's not going to last that long. On the year, the Packers have only allowed 7 rushing touchdowns to running backs, only 1 in their last 4 games. So Steven Jackson, if he doesn't score, really a liability for your fantasy team, I'd get away from him.
But did you say to start Kelvin Benjamin this week?
I'm a big Kelvin Benjamin guy, so I think that he's good in a matchup.
He's a big Kelvin Benjamin guy.
Well, he's 6'5". Of course he's a big guy. And listen, Carolina, I don't know how much running they're really going to be able to do in this game. I think there's a good opportunity for him to greatly improve on what he did the last time he played the Saints. Had 10 targets, only 2 catches. Did not have a lot of numbers. He dropped a touchdown in the game. I think he bounces back because the Panthers need him to and because he gets a ton of targets, and I always like sticking with receivers who keep getting 8, 9, 10 targets a game.
Jamie says to sit Jeremy Maclin this week.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. You like sticking receivers to get all those targets. I'm going to go the other direction because this is a guy that's going to get a lot of targets in Jeremy Maclin, but should not be considered a must-start guy. 3rd receiver in 3 receiver leagues, you gamble on that. But Richard Sherman's doing a very good job, as is the Seahawks defense as a whole, and those 2 guys are going to line up against each other. So I'm being a little bit generous with the 9 fantasy points here because I don't know if he's going to get to 90 total yards. It's going to be tough for him. We've seen the Seahawks defense. They haven't allowed a passing touchdown in 3 straight games, and we know since Mark Sanchez has taken over for Nick Foles, he favors Jordan Matthews more than Maclin. So Maclin was great on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. Much different matchup, though, this time around.
But at tight end, you do like Kyle Rudolph.
Look, the tight end position stinks, Joy.
Yes,
it's very difficult for us to find guys that are somewhat reliable. But Rudolph is in a good situation because of his matchup. Scored last week against Carolina. Faces a Jets team this week on the road that allows the most touchdowns to opposing tight ends, excuse me. So you gamble on that right now, and Rudolph was a guy we liked coming into the season, plays in a good system that favors tight ends, and right now Teddy Bridgewater, at least last week in the red zone, looked for him and found him in the end zone. So I think he scores again this week. I'll take 7 fantasy points with a chance to be maybe 10 or more just because of how bad the Jets have been against tight ends.
Dave, tell us why we should sit Timothy Wright.
Well, normally you like him because of the chance for him to score a touchdown, but the San Diego Chargers defense has only allowed 2 touchdowns to tight ends all season long, so I don't know if I can count on him to do much better than 1 catch, 1 yard, and a touchdown. If that's his ceiling, you don't want to know what his floor is. You can find a better tight end than that.
All right, that is your fantasy football update on CBS Local Sports. Thanks for joining us, and good luck this weekend.